and welcome to another Design Clips here at W+9. This is Dawn Woolslegel, and I'm back today to give you a closer look at one of our newest stamp sets, the Petunia Builder, which will be available on March 5th, 2017. Now this is an image building stamp set, so it's got multiple layers that you stamp one on top of the other to create these realistic detailed flowers. Now quite often these image building sets can be intimidating, but I try to design these as easy to use as possible. So the floral images, you really cannot get them wrong. You are able to stamp them in any orientation you want and they will work as long as they are contained within the base layer. So you've got your base layer, your middle layer, and your top layer. There's no minute lining up of anything. I mean, literally you can turn it in any direction and stamp it. The only one that you will have to line up is the one that is the side view of the petunia. And again, that one is really easy to line up. I've made it as easy as possible. All the images that go together are grouped together on the sheet. And today I just want to give you a quick little run through of how to use these just to give you a good idea and a reference. So this is one that I've completed in the lavenders and purples. And today we're going to do one in the coral. Coral's my color. You guys know I love coral. So I've swatched out our corals here and I want them all to be in the same color family, but I want them about 2 apart in shade. So I'm going to go with our shell pink, our sweet nectar, and then I'm going to skip our flamingo and go to our gala red. Even though the gala red is not a coral, when it's stamped over the sweet nectar, it's going to pick up some of that color underneath and it's going to match perfectly. Likewise, I swatched out some of our blues, and you guys, I love aqua with coral, so I'm going to use our Sea Breeze and our Ocean Drive for the leaves. I only need 2 colors for those because there's only 2 layers. I am going to do some very simple masking, so I'm going to get my Inkadinkadoo stamp masking paper, and I'm going to stamp out the largest base layer and the medium base layer for the petunias, because those are the only 2 that I'm going to do any masking for. So I'm just going to stamp and trim out 2 of those. So I'm working on Neenah Solar White paper today versus our own cardstock. The Neenah has a little bit slicker surface and the ink doesn't soak into it quite like it does in ours. And I like that when I'm doing florals sometimes because it will leave a little bit of texture in the ink. And I really like the way that that adds to almost the realistic look for the petals, the flowers themselves. I like that little bit of texture. On ours, it will completely even out. On this, sometimes it gives me a little bit of a textured look, and I kind of sometimes prefer that. So I've stamped the first layer in our shell pink, and now I'm going to use the second layer, and I'm going to stamp that in sweet nectar. You'll notice that I stamped it off to the side first. That was just to make sure that my stamp was clean, and then I just stamped it straight down. I didn't try to orient it any certain way. As long as that layer falls within that base layer, you're good to go. As long as, it's not hanging off the edge. You want to make sure it's within that first layer. Other than that, that's all you need to do. Now I can come in and do the third layer, and I'm going to use our Gala Red, and here's where I make a mistake. I didn't stamp this off. And now it's a much deeper red. It still looks good. However, you'll see here later that it's much darker than the other flowers that we'll do later. That's why I usually stamp off. I had done a set of blue flowers previous to this, and I had used navy. And yeah, so I've got more like a cranberry color going on right there. But that's okay, we'll fix it later. So now it's time to put in the leaves, and I'm going to do my masking here. Now there is a companion die for this set. However, I wanted to do some 1-layer cards, so that's why I'm doing masking. If you were using the companion dies, you wouldn't have to worry about masking at all. I'm going to use the largest leaf segment here first, and I'm going to stamp that in our Sea Breeze. This one has a stem on it, and it actually has 2 stems. It has a stem to lead up to the flower, and then it has another stem that kind of points off to the side. Now you could use this to either be the stem for another flower, or you could use it to be a stem for another leaf, or you could hide it up under the flower like I'm going to do here. I'm going to continue to build up my leaves around this. I'm going to stamp another set of the double leaves, and then I'm going to stamp one of the single leaves as well. While my mask is still in place, I'm going to come in and add that second detail layer for all of the leaves. Now there's a little V right here. You'll want to line up those V's and the tips of the leaves, and then you should be good to go. Just push down, and voila, there you go. Doesn't matter if they're perfectly lined up, it actually adds to the artistic look of it. But if you're a stickler for lining it up, you could always use your mini Misty or your Misty. I'll add the rest of the detail layers for each of the leaves. And again, these ones are easy to line up as well. And then I can remove my mask. I also wanted to show you how you don't have to use all 3 layers and create the same flower. You can use a combination of several different layers to create different flowers. So here I'm going to use the middle layer from that largest flower together with the smallest center from the smallest flower to create something completely different. And it's just a great way to stretch this set. So I'm going to stamp this first layer in our shell pink again. And then I'm going to come in with that smallest center and stamp that on top. And now we have a different flower, completely different flower that we probably wouldn't have thought to create out of this set. So I wanted to show you how to do that side petunia that I mentioned, and I want him to be tucked behind this other flower. So I've stamped the base, and now I'm going to mask it off. Then I'm going to stamp the base layer of that side petunia, again in my lightest color. And then I'm going to stamp the second layer using the sweet nectar, and I'm going to line up that top edge with the top edge of the previously stamped image. And then for the third layer, there's a little dip at the bottom of the detail layer. I'm going to line that up with the dip of the second layer and stamp that down. And if they're perfectly lined up, it doesn't matter, because these aren't hyper realistic. They're more of a stylized look, so it doesn't matter if they're perfectly lined up or not. They're still going to look great. So now that leaf segment that we talked about with the stems, I wanted to show you how you can connect either one of these single leaves to it. So just pick one of the ones you want. Once you've stamped it, you're just going to ink that up in the same color and then just connect it right there. And now you have an extra little leaf, and it just adds a little bit of movement, a little variation, so you don't always have to tuck your leaves behind your flower. So I finished stamping it up off camera, and now I'm all done. And here you can see my 2 boo-boos with my dirty stamps. How they now you can see they stick out like a sore thumb. That's okay, I can flip this the other way and lay my sentiment across it, and it'll hide it. I'm not starting over. So I need a perfectly matched sentiment for my card, and I don't have any cardstock that exactly matches, so all I'm going to do is use ink blender and my ink that I used on my card and just color a piece of cardstock. Now if you're new to our inks are perfect for this ink blending and for this technique. They're what I like to call self-leveling. They go on darker and a little splotchy at first, but as they absorb into the paper and cure, they even out and lighten up. So they are beautiful for this, but be aware that because it takes a second for it to dry, it is dry to the touch immediately. However, as it absorbs into that paper, the paper itself inside the core is still a little damp. You'll want to wait until it completely dries to do any heat embossing or anything, because your powder will stick to it. So like I mentioned, we're going to be doing heat embossing, so I've treated this with an anti-static bag, and then I'm going to heat emboss it with some Wow Superfine Bright White embossing powder. So we're just going to finish this off very simply. I want to let that pattern shine, so I used the gift card layers die here to add some faux stitching around the edge. And then we're going to use our sentiment to cover up those boo-boos right there, those dirty stamps. Yeah, well, luckily the sentiment is the perfect size to cover that up. I'm going to add some DMC metallic thread just underneath it. I'm just going to add a little nest of it. I like to just pull it off and let it kind of spool around onto the card. Then I will add some 3M foam tape to the back of my sentiment. And this is what I will use to arrange that thread exactly how I want it. I'm going to lay it down on top of the thread, but I'm not going to push down, so I'm not adhering it to the card base just yet. It'll just grab the thread, and then I can manipulate that thread until I've got it exactly how I want it. And once I've got it right where I want it, I'll go ahead and push down, and then it will adhere the sentiment and the thread to the card at the same time. So there you have just one idea of how to use the Petunia Builder set. This is a very versatile set, and I've had a lot of fun playing with it. I actually have several several samples to share with you guys over the next couple of days and weeks. So be sure to check the blog stampawaywithme.blogspot.com for more inspiration on this stamp set. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I want to thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for all of the comments that you guys have been leaving. It really is encouraging, and I hope to be able to find more time to film more videos for you guys. So until next time, I will see you later. Bye.